Hello, dear students. So, this is the second part of chapter 6, that is life processes. Okay, so we will continue the remaining topics of our chapter 6 in this part. So, basically, this will include your respiration in human beings, respiration in plants, transportation in human beings, transportation in plants, then your excretion in human beings as well as excretion in plants. So here the two very important things that we will study are how does our heart work, how our blood works. Okay, so we'll study thoroughly. Let's see. Okay, when we proceed to respiration in human beings, see, respiration is what we breathe in, we breathe out. This is respiration involves what? Gaseous exchange, that is breathing, intake of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide, that is gaseous exchange. Another is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is what? Breakdown of simple food in order to release inside a cell. So we know that our human body, each part of our human body is made up of millions and millions of cells. So each cell also needs to get his energy. So how does it get its energy? It gets its energy by breaking down of the food into simpler form. Okay, by simple food in order to release energy in the cell. Each cell will need your energy. If one cell, even if a simple cell does not get energy, that cell will die. Understood? So respiration, two types. One is gaseous, that is breathing, intake of oxygen and release of carbon dioxide, and another is cellular respiration. So under respiration, this is very important from your exam perspective. This difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration, you have to remember it very thoroughly. So very simple, just you need to put your concentration. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So one takes place in presence of oxygen, one takes place in presence of oxygen, another takes place in absence of oxygen. So when there is oxygen present and respiration is occurring, it will be aerobic. When respiration is occurring in the absence of oxygen, it will be anaerobic. Okay, aerobic respiration occurs in mitochondria, anaerobic respiration occurs in cytoplasm. Okay, aerobic respiration end products are carbon dioxide and water. In anaerobic respiration, the end products are alcohol and lactic acid. Okay, in aerobic respiration, since it occurs in presence of oxygen, more amount of energy is released. In anaerobic respiration, since there is absence of oxygen, so less amount of energy is released. Okay, 4 points you need to be very clear. Just you'll remember these things. One happens in presence of oxygen, it is aerobic. Another happens in absence of oxygen, anaerobic. Okay, next we see, as I told you in the previous video, while studying the digestive system, I said that the carbohydrate that we take in our food is broken down into glucose. Okay, now that glucose will be goes through a breakdown in various ways. Okay, the first step is the breakdown of glucose into 6 carbon molecule. Okay, breakdown of what is glucose? We know that glucose formula is C6H12O6, that is 6 carbons, 12 hydrogens and 6 oxygens. The first step is to break down this glucose into a 3 carbon molecules. So initially it was 6 carbon molecule, we have to make it 3 carbon molecule, and that has a name. When it becomes a 3 carbon molecule, that glucose, which is a 6 carbon molecule, when it becomes a 3 carbon molecule, it has a name. It is called pyruvate. Okay, and it occurs where does it occur? It occurs in cytoplasm. So first step, you will remember that breakdown of glucose is done into a 3 carbon molecule. Glucose is 6 carbon molecule, it breaks down into 3 carbon molecule, half, and the name of this 3 carbon molecule is pyruvate. Where does it occur? It occurs in cytoplasm. Okay, the pyruvate may be converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide, which takes place in yeast during fermentation. Okay, this pyruvate, after breaking the glucose into pyruvate, that pyruvate is further converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide, where? In yeast during fermentation. Okay, since this process takes place in the absence of oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration. Understood? Since it happens in absence of oxygen, it will be called as anaerobic respiration. That pyruvate is broken down into a 3 carbon pyruvate molecule in the presence of oxygen to give 3 molecules of carbon dioxide and water. So when this pyruvate, glucose, is broken down into pyruvate, when this pyruvate is going under anaerobic respiration, it gives what? Ethanol and carbon dioxide. But when it goes under aerobic respiration, you can see here, when it goes under aerobic respiration, it gives 3 molecules of carbon dioxide and water. Understood? This process takes place in where? Mitochondria. Understood? The pyruvate is converted into lactic acid when there is a lack of oxygen in our muscle cells, okay, which is also a 3 carbon molecule. This buildup of lactic acid in our cells during sudden activity causes cramps. Now, you know, if you suddenly, suppose if you go to the gym, when you go to the gym, you take up heavy loads, okay, you pick heavy loads. So what happens is that you're like, what to say, you're like giving a sudden load to your body which it is not accustomed to, okay. So that makes lactic acid in our muscles, and that lactic acid will give you cramps in your muscles, okay. Suppose I will give you another example. Suppose suddenly, normally you don't run, okay, suddenly today you thought of going for jogging, okay. So today morning you woke up and then you went for a jogging of suppose 5 kilometers, okay, you ran for 5 kilometers. So this was your first day. So what happens is that because of this sudden activity, it will cause what? Lactic acid formation in your muscles, okay, and that will give you cramps. When you sleep at night, you'll feel like your leg is cramped, it is paining or something, that kind of feeling. So what happens is that pyruvate is converted into lactic acid since there is lack of oxygen in our muscle cells, and that buildup of lactic acid will give you cramps. Understood till here? Okay, now see, this is a pictorial representation. You can go through your book also. The same picture is given. I have taken it from your book. That is, what happens is that a glucose, which is a 6 carbon molecule, is broken down in cytoplasm. It is broken into 3 carbon molecule, and the name is pyruvate, okay, plus some energy. Now this pyruvate is going through respiration in 3 different ways. Like if it is taking place in absence of oxygen, in yeast, then it will give you ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. If it is going through respiration, that is in lack of oxygen in our muscles, then it gives lactic acid and energy, okay. 2 cases of oxygen absent, okay. First is in yeast, second is in our muscle cells. In the first case, it will give ethanol, carbon dioxide and energy. In the second case, it will give lactic acid and energy. In the third case, it will give this pyruvate goes under aerobic respiration, that is in presence of oxygen, and in that case it will give carbon dioxide, water and energy. This takes place in mitochondria. The same picture is given in your book. If you want to follow your book, you can go through that, okay. Whatever I have said is written in your book also. You just go through that. Next is, we'll study the human respiratory system. So what is human respiratory system? As I said, respiration is what? Just the intake of oxygen and give away of carbon dioxide. That is, we take in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide. Now see, we can breathe in both ways, through the nose or through the mouth also. Understood? So this is called the mouth cavity. This is your nostril, and through this it is called nasal cavity, okay. So first the air goes through nostril, that is our these holes in our nose, those are nostrils, okay. Then it has a passage called, it goes through a passage called nasal passage, okay. Then it passes through a cavity, it is called nasal cavity. Then it will pass through pharynx, then your larynx. As you know, larynx is the voice box, okay. Larynx is the voice box through which our voice is produced, okay. Then that same air will go through trachea, then through your bronchi. What is bronchi? It is also called like a bronchial tubes, okay. These are 2 tubes that go to our lungs, okay. Those are bronchial tubes. So here it is called bronchi. Then it will pass through the lungs and then to the bronchioles. So bronchioles means what? Suppose this is our larynx. From larynx, here it is called trachea. From after trachea, it will get splitted into 2 parts. These 2 tubes are called bronchi. Now these 2 tubes will go deep into the lungs, okay. Now when it goes, it looks like some root of trees, okay, and every end is called bronchioles, okay, bronchioles, and then the last part is called alveolar, okay. It is also called alveolar sac also, okay, sometimes. and then it goes, and then the last part is, it is the blood capillaries, that is the blood vessels. Okay, so you remember this representation I have given for your easy remembrance. See, nostril, nasal passage, nasal cavity, pharynx, 4, larynx, 5. Okay, trachea, bronchi, lungs, bronchioles, alveolar, 10, and the last one is blood capillaries. So 11, the air that we take, passage of air goes through 11 different parts. Okay, one is nostril, nasal passage, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, lungs, bronchioles, alveolar, and blood capillaries. Okay, next is when we breathe. This is a mechanism. Okay, we just it keeps on repeating. Whenever something keeps on repeating, or the process of doing something, the process of doing something is called a mechanism. Okay, now when I take in oxygen, when I breathe in, it is called inhalation. When I breathe out, it will be called exhalation. Okay, during inhalation, the thoracic cavity, that is our chest cavity, it expands. See, when I breathe in, our chest expands, so that is during inhalation. During exhalation, our chest contracts, that is our chest goes inside. Similarly, during inhalation, our ribs that protect our lungs, those lift up. Okay, that is they move outwards. In exhalation, they move downwards, that is inwards. The diaphragm that we have under our lungs, that helps us in breathing, become flat in shape during inhalation. The diaphragm becomes in dome shaped. Dome means what? Like something, no, semicircular dome. So diaphragm becomes dome shaped during exhalation. Volume of lungs increases and air enters the lungs. That is, we all know, when we take in oxygen, when we inhale, the volume of our lungs, that is our lungs, expand, so air enters the lungs. During exhalation, our volume of the lungs, that is the lungs, becomes smaller and the air exits from the lungs. Okay, very simple. You need to remember this also. Now, exchange of gases between alveoli, blood, and tissues. So see, which we take in, it should be rich in oxygen. Okay, suppose if I take air which is not rich in oxygen, it will like make me suffocate. Okay, if there is oxygen level is low, it will make me suffocate. Richest blood, which combines with hemoglobin, and O2 is released in alveolar tissues through blood cells. That means what? When I take in air, that is, it has what does it has? It has a lot of oxygen. So that oxygen will mix with hemoglobin, that is our blood, in red blood corpuscles, and oxygen is released into the tissues for our growth. We all know this. Carbon dioxide is released in blood and dissolved into it and carried by blood vessels. The carbon dioxide is released in the alveolar sac, which is sent out through nostrils. That means what? When we breathe in, the oxygen gets mixed with the blood, and it goes through the different alveolar tissues, okay, through blood vessels. Okay, but the carbon dioxide is what? It comes back and carried by the blood vessels, and that carbon dioxide is released into the what? Alveolar sac. One is alveoli tissues and the other is alveolar sac. You have seen in the previous diagram. I will show you. This last is in the corner. This is an alveolar sac. Okay, from the alveolar sac, it is then sent to the nostrils for exhalation. Okay, now terrestrial organisms like the animals or the organisms that live on land, they use atmospheric oxygen, the oxygen that is present in the air, for respiration. Aquatic organisms, that is the organisms that live under water. Okay, those organisms, what they do is they use the dissolved oxygen. That is, we all know that water has oxygen in it, so oxygen is dissolved in water, so they use the dissolved oxygen in the water for respiration. Okay, in plants, similarly, plants are also living organisms. They also need respiration for for them. Respiration in plants is simpler than respiration in animals. So previously I have told you, that is, in plants there are leaves. Okay, in leaves there are very tiny holes. Okay, those are called stomata. So plants, what they do, they take in the air through those stomata. They use the carbon dioxide and they release oxygen for us. Okay, so very easy. You go through the book, you need to go through the book. Here I am giving you a PPT presentation, but you need to go through the book line by line, so that you understand it thoroughly. Okay, in transportation in human beings, what happens is that human beings, like any other, we are very advanced animals, human beings. Okay, so we need regular food, oxygen, we need air. We cannot stay without oxygen for like more than 3 minutes, okay? Hardly 3 minutes if anyone can survive. Then we need food also for our energy, for our day-to-day activities. So this, all these things, there is a system, okay? There is a system. Suppose if I am taking food from the mouth, previously I have said in our digestive system that if I am taking the food, it goes through a lot of processes to digest. Similarly, after digestion, the energy that is produced, the carbohydrate or the protein that is produced, the energy that is produced, those things need to reach from head to toe. That means every corner of the body, those should be supplied. So there is a system which is called the circulatory system. The main parts of our circulatory system is the heart, that is a pumping organ, that is it pumps the blood, okay? Next is the arteries and veins, that is the pipeline system, you can say. Those are blood vessels through which all the blood is being circulated in our body. That is the what to say, pipeline system, you can say. And next is the blood and lymph. These are two things, these are the mediums, okay? Blood and lymph. So if I am to send like what to say, if I am to send the oxygen that is received in the heart to received in the lungs, then it goes through heart, it is mixed with the blood. And if I need to send it to my legs, I need a what to say, a pipeline. Those are what? Arteries and veins. If blood needs to come back to the heart, they will use this same pipeline. But if I'm about to send the oxygen, I have to send it with someone. No, I have to send it by something. There should be some method, and that method is called blood and lymph. Those are the circulatory medium, okay? Now this diagram, this diagram of the heart is given in your book. See, this diagram is very important. You need to practice it first, because what happens is that in your final exam, till your like matriculation exam, till your end exam, this diagram is very important from your exam point of view. Understood? Now I will give you how, from where the blood enters, how it goes out, how the circulatory system in human beings work. I will give you the very easy explanation. Just see. Now see, deoxygenated blood from the body, that means the blood that has no oxygen in it, okay? What happens is that it will pass through this vena cava. Do you see this vena cava? There is a part, there is a tube that is called vena cava. It will pass through vena cava to the right atrium, that is relaxed. Right atrium is relaxed. Now when right atrium contracts means, relaxed means what? Suppose this is relaxed. Now contracts means what? I'm contracting this. That is, the right atrium is being contracted. When right atrium is contracted, the right ventricle is relaxed. When right ventricle contracts, the lungs work, okay? So what happens is that oxygenated blood from the lungs, they come to the left atrium. Oxygenated blood from the lungs, they come to the left atrium, and left atrium is relaxed at this point. See, suppose this is your lung, suppose this is my lungs. From lungs, I took in oxygen, oxygen went inside my lungs, and that oxygen is getting mixed with blood, okay? Now my blood is rich in oxygen, okay? So that will be called oxygenated blood, okay? Now oxygenated blood, when it moves through left atrium, this is relaxed, okay? Now when left atrium is relaxed, oxygenated blood is coming. Now if I contract this, what happens is my left ventricle was relaxed. Now this will also contract. Now this will make the blood, see, when I contract, that means what? I'm pushing something, okay? This will make the blood pump through the aorta to different parts of the body. Again, from different parts of the body, similarly through the vena cava, there again the right atrium and the right atrium is relaxed, right ventricle is also relaxed, right ventricle contracts, and then it comes to the lungs. Then it is a circular process. So from here, what I can say is that you see, this is just a pictorial representation, okay? You need to go through the lines. I will give you the notes later on, but you need to go through the lines that are given in your book to understand this very easily. What happens is that first oxygen is mixed with blood, okay? From the lungs, oxygenated blood is coming. From the lungs, oxygen is coming, it gets mixed with the blood, it becomes oxygenated blood. The left side of our heart, will contain what? Left atrium and left ventricle. When this left atrium and left ventricle contract and relax, they pump the blood where? to different parts of the body via aorta. Okay, now once they reach different parts of the body, oxygen is being used by different parts of the body. Now oxygen becomes what? Now blood becomes what? Deoxygenated, that is oxygen is removed. Now same blood will go through vena cava, and the right side of our heart will now function, that is the right atrium and the right ventricle. When they contract and relax, they pump blood back to the, like deoxygenated blood back to the lungs, so that oxygen is being can get mixed with the lungs. Okay, now see, what is blood circulation in human beings, in human body? See, one term is that is called double circulation. Okay, in double circulation, what happens is that blood travels twice through the heart. That means if blood is traveling twice through the heart in one complete cycle of the body, that is called double circulation. That means if my blood wants to make a complete circle of my body, complete cycle of my body, but it should pass 2 times through the heart, that will be called what? Double circulation. Okay, see, direction of blood flow. Now since this is a flow of blood, so it will have some direction. Okay, so pulmonary circulation and systemic circulation. Blood moves from the heart to the lungs and back to the heart, from heart to the lungs and back to the heart. This is called pulmonary circulation. Next is systemic circulation. Blood moves from the heart to rest of the body and back to the heart. That means heart is the main center. From heart, once it will go to the lungs and then come back to the heart. This is pulmonary. From heart, it will go to different parts of the body and then it will come again to the heart. That will be your systemic circulation. Okay. Now we will study blood. What is blood? See, as I said, blood is just a medium for the transport of what? Oxygen to different parts of the body. Blood is a connective tissue which is fluid in nature. We all know it is a fluid, it can flow. Okay, now blood has 3 components to it. One is RBC, WBC and platelets. RBC is what? Red blood corpuscles or red blood cells. Okay, this carries, RBC carries the oxygen and carbon dioxide and also contain a substance called hemoglobin. Okay, this hemoglobin, our blood is red in color, no? This hemoglobin, because of this hemoglobin, our blood is red in color. Okay, what is the function of RBC? It transports oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now WBC, white blood cells, it provides body defense by engulfing the germs and produce antibodies. Suppose if I have a minor cut here, okay, so is cut if I have a minor cut on my hand, so that it does not get like infected, or to protect this cut from infection or from germs, or produce antibodies to heal it faster, what we will do, what the blood does, it has a substance called white blood cells. Okay, that helps in the defense of the body. Okay, next is platelets. Platelets is what you have, as you have seen, if I cut my finger, at the beginning blood will come out. Okay, blood will just flow, but after some time the blood starts to thicken, it becomes thick, and then blood stops. That means blood clotting happens. Why does it happen? It happens because of platelets. So platelets have the ability of blood clotting. Okay, now liquid component, there is another component in our blood, it is called plasma. As you have heard recently in all this plasma donation, because of this coronavirus and all, they do plasma donation. Okay, so plasma is what? It is a yellow color fluid which is present in our body. It contains 90% water and 10% organic substances. Okay, so this is like this plasma is very helpful in reviving the quality of your blood or the quality of your cells. Okay, the plasma should be, if the quality of your plasma is very good, that means your quality of your blood is also very good. You can say it like that. Okay, this is a very, very easy term to say something like, suppose if I have a disease. Okay, just like in corona, how they are using the plasma is like, suppose if I have a disease, now I am weak. To increase my health, to get better, to make my health better, what I'll do is I take plasma from someone who is healthy. Okay, and then I put it into my body. Okay, so what happens is that plasma, the quality of plasma has become good inside my body now, and as a result I will get better. Okay, this produces good antibodies. This helps in producing good antibodies. Next is lymph. Just like blood, there is another component in our body. It is called lymph. It is a yellowish fluid which escapes from the blood capillaries into the intercellular spaces. That means, suppose these are two cells, okay? Between these cells, there are some spaces. So this yellow color fluid, it goes into the intercellular spaces. It contains lymph. We all know that blood carries not only oxygen but also proteins and everything, okay? So this lymph will also contain protein, but it has less proteins compared to the blood. It flows from the tissues to the heart, which helps in transportation and destroying germs. So what happens is that lymph will flow from the, we know blood flows through blood capillaries, okay, but lymph does not flow in blood capillaries. It flows through what? Through the, from the tissues to the heart, which helps in transportation and destroying germs, okay. Now, two types of blood vessels, as I said, that is the pipeline system. One is arteries and second is veins. Okay. So what is the difference between arteries and veins? So arteries carry the oxygenated blood, that is the pure blood, from your heart to different parts of the body. Veins, what they do, they carry the impure blood, that is deoxygenated blood, from different parts of the body to the heart. Okay. Vein, different parts of the body to the heart. Arteries, from heart to the different parts of the body. So arteries is basically, you can say, it is a distributing vessel, and veins is a collecting vessel. Arteries are thick and elastic, veins are thin and less elastic. Okay, their arteries are deep inside our skin. Okay, and veins are superficial near to the skin as compared to the arteries. So you can say, if my hand, if these are if this is my hand, if you just like tighten your hand, you can see some nerves here. Okay, you will see some, we say no, we see some nerves. So these are basically not arteries, these are veins. What they do, they carry blood from different parts of the, they carry blood from different parts of the body to the heart. Arteries, what they do, they are deep inside the skin, not on the surface of the skin, they are deep inside the skin. What they do, they carry oxygenated blood from the heart to different parts of the body. Understood? Next, respiration is finished. Next, we'll go to transportation. Now see, transportation means what? Whenever, suppose we are taking these things, like what to say, we are taking food, we are taking oxygen and all these things. Similarly, plants also take this oxygen, food, everything. They prepare their food. So all these things need to be like distributed to different parts of the body. That will be transportation. Now, as we have already studied transportation in human beings, this is transportation in plants. So in plants, what happens, just like in humans, there is what? Heart, arteries, veins, blood and lymph. In plants, there are two things, xylem and phloem. So xylem, what does it do? It carries the waters and minerals from the root to other parts of the plant. It carries water from the roots to other parts of the plants. Phloem, what does it do? It carries product of photosynthesis from leaves to parts of the plant. That is, we can say, distributor of water in plants is xylem. Distributor of food items, that is photosynthesis, is the food producing method of plants. The distribution of food in case of plants is done by phloem. Okay, in xylem, water is being transported, no waters and minerals, so no energy is used in xylem. In phloem, energy is used from adenosine triphosphate, that is ATP. The full form of ATP is adenosine triphosphate. Understood? Now, transpiration and its functions. What is transpiration? It is the process of loss of water as vapor from aerial parts of the plant. We all know that water is being used by plants, but also water is being released by plants, okay, as vapor from aerial parts. That is, aerial parts means what? From the upper parts, that is from leaves or something. Function is what? Absorption and upward movement of water and minerals by creating pull. If I am about to if I don't have that ability to pull, how can I take all the water from my roots to the different parts of the plants, that is branches, tree, leaves and everything. So that is the function of transpiration. Helps in temperature regulation. Since water is being regulated to different parts of the plant, so temperature is maintained. Okay. Transportation of food from leaves, food factory, to different part of the plant is called translocation. Another term is here, that is translocation. Translocation is what? Transportation of food from the leaves to different part of the plant. Okay, so transpiration is what? Transportation of loss of water as vapor from aerial parts of the plant. Translocation is what? Transport of food from leaves to different part of the plant. Okay. Next is excretion. Now we all know that we take food and we excrete also. That is, unwanted material should be released by the bodies. So the metabolic activities in the body generates many kinds of waste, including nitrogenous waste, which are harmful for the body and hence need to be removed. Excretion is the process. What is excretion? Excretion is the process by which waste is removed from our body. Unicellular organisms remove these wastes by simple diffusion. Unicellular organisms, what they do? They just diffuse the waste materials. Okay. Now, since this is an excretion, this will have a system. Okay. Now, this system has some organs. Now, the main organ in our excretory system is kidney, and kidney helps in excretion of liquid materials, liquid matter. Okay. That is, this kidney, we have two kidneys. This kidney is like a filter. It is a filtration unit, and those is like a filter, and that has many filtration units called nephrons. Okay. Nephrons are made up of a cluster of thin-walled capillaries called glomerulus, which is associated with a cup-like structure called the Bowman's capsule. Bowman's capsule. That means what? This kidney, each kidney has many filtration units. That means filters, small filters. Those are called nephrons. Now each one nephron is being made up of many thin-walled capillaries. That means many small capillaries means what? Those are small tube-like things. Okay, very tiny, thin tubes called glomerulus, and which is associated or which is connected to a bowl-like structure, cup-like structure, which is called the Bowman's capsule, and the long tube which terminates through this capsule. Okay. The renal artery brings oxygenated blood to the kidneys along with the nitrogenous waste like urea and uric acid and many other substances. There is an artery. As we said, artery, what does it do? It carries oxygenated blood from the heart to different parts of the body. That means the renal artery is carrying the oxygenated blood from my heart to the kidney along with some waste materials that are harmful materials that are inside our body like urea and uric acid. Okay, and many other materials. The blood gets filtered through the glomerulus, and this filtrate enters the tubular part of the nephron. As this filtrate moves down the tubular part, glucose, amino acids, salts, and excess of water gets selectively reabsorbed by the blood vessels surrounding these tubules. So when water is coming through to get filtered through this kidney, that is through the nephrons, water will contain many important parts also like glucose, amino acids, salts, and everything. So it gets filtered, and after filtration, all the good things are being reabsorbed by the blood vessels, and the waste things, that is the urea, uric acid, which is harmful for us, will be released. Okay. Now, how much water is being reabsorbed? Once the water is being filtered in the kidneys, that is in the nephrons, how much water is reabsorbed? How much water is there in the body, it depends. If my body has excess water, then it will release. Okay. If my body wants water, then it will keep it. Then how much nitrogenous waste, if I am to like release, if the amount of urea or uric acid in my body is too much, then the release of water from our body, that is the excretion of water from our body, is also very high, and the reabsorption will be dependent on this. Okay. So the fluid now flowing in the tubular part is urine. It is called urine, which gets collected in ducts of nephrons. These collecting ducts together leave the kidney at a common point by forming the ureter. So after the urine is formed, this is all this urine is being collected in a common point called they leave the kidney and come to a common point called the ureter. Okay. Each ureter drains the urine in the urinary bladder. Now the ureter will again move the drain, will pass the urine through a bladder called urinary bladder, where it is stored until the pressure of expanded bladder leads to an urge to go to washroom. Okay, to pass it through urethra. That means if the amount of amount of urine that is being collected in the urinary bladder is very less, then the pressure will also be low and the bladder will not expand. But if the amount of urine in the urinary bladder is too high, then the pressure will increase, and as a result the bladder will expand, and then you will have this urge to like pass it through the urethra, that is you need to go to washroom. This bladder is a muscular tissue which is under nervous control. Okay, That means what? This bladder, no, the urinary bladder, it is controlled by our nervous system. So suppose if you are too nervous, okay, sometimes if you're too nervous, then also you have this urge to like pass your urine. Suppose if you're too relaxed, then you don't have this nervousness to like pass your urine. Okay, so this is controlled by the nervous system. Now this is a fact that 180 liters of filtrate is formed daily, but only 2 liters is excreted out as urine, so the rest is absorbed by the body. That means daily our almost 180 liters is being filtrated through the kidney once or twice, I don't know how much, but many times total of 180 liters of filtrate is formed, but only 2 liters, an average of 2 liters is being excreted out as urine, and the rest is reabsorbed by the body. Okay, now functions of nephron, two important functions, that is excretion of nitrogenous waste, previously we have said, that is removal of urea, uric acid and similar other wastes. Okay, and another function of nephron is to maintain the water and ionic balance in our body. Okay, so if the nephron is not working, if the kidney is not working properly, the balance of water or the ionic balance in your body will be disturbed. Okay, so these are two very important functions of nephrons. Okay, now artificial kidney, what is artificial kidney? You have heard that people who go through like kidney failure, they need an artificial kidney to purify their blood and for the whole process of urine formation. Okay, that is called hemodialysis. Okay, formation of urine in humans, how the formation of urine in humans takes place? Three steps, that is initially glomerular filtration, that is all the nitrogenous waste, glucose, water, amino acid that are being passed through those tiny glomerules, and this is called glomerular filtration. It is passed through glomerules, and all the nitrogenous waste, glucose, water and amino acid are being removed from the blood into the Bowman capsule of the nephron. Okay, tubular reabsorption. Now useful substances, in the initial part, in glomerular filtration, all the waste materials, nitrogenous waste materials, glucose, amino acid, all these things are removed from the blood. In the next, useful substances from the filter are reabsorbed by the capillaries for our body. In the third step, secretion, that is urea, extra water and salts are secreted into the tubule, which open up in the collecting duct and then into the ureter. So initially all the nitrogenous waste, glucose, water, amino acid, they are being filtered. In the second step, all the useful substances are reabsorbed by the body. In the third step, all the urea, extra water and all the salts that are not wanted by the body, they are being released through the urinary bladder. Okay, 3 steps in the formation of urine. Okay, excretion in plants. What happens in plants is that plants use different strategies for excretion. Okay, now as I said previously, plants take this carbon dioxide, plants use carbon dioxide and give oxygen for us. Okay, so what do they do? Plants take carbon dioxide through stomata, but they also release oxygen through the stomata. Understood? Stomata are what? Tiny holes that are present on the leaves of the plants. Now excess water is removed by transpiration also. Transpiration was what? Transpiration is the removal of water as vapor. Water is removed in the form of vapor through leaves or aerial diffusion. Okay, plants can even lose some of their old parts like leaves, bark of trees. That is, suppose excretion in plants, what happens is that some of their leaves that are dying, so that is also waste. Okay, so plants just get rid of them, the old leaves or bark of the tree. Okay, other waste products, suppose a rubber tree, okay, the resins are formed, okay, gums are formed, so especially in old xylem cells which can be lost by the plants. Okay, plants can also secrete some waste substances into the soil around them. Sometimes what happens, plants can also secrete like waste substances that is unwanted for them into the soil that they are growing into. Okay, so plants can like excrete in many ways which we basically don't see, but we should know that oxygen not wanted by the plant is being given through stomata, excess water is removed by transpiration, old parts, old barks of the tree, old leaves, they fall down, that is what comes under excretion. Waste products like resins, gums, okay, gums from rubber trees, okay, and you have seen many like sticky substances coming out from the stem, okay, those are what, those are waste products, okay. Those are also lost by plants. Sometimes what happens, the plants can also secrete some waste substances into the soil around them, into the soil where they are growing, understood? So basically that is your thank you boys, this is the end of your chapter 6. So I hope both these videos will be very clear to you, but what I want to say is that since this is a uh, presentation, this is a PPT presentation, so it is impossible for me to go line by line, to go through all the lines one by one. So what my suggestion would be is, please, when you are watching this video, whenever you want to pause, just pause and go through your books. It's not like that you have to see this whole video in one step. After you study, after you go through 2 or 3 slides, just go through your book, look at the diagram, go through the lines, try to understand, because here basically I have given point wise. So go through the lines, try to understand everything, and hopefully you will I hope you will understand, okay. But read your book, that would be my honest suggestion, okay. Thank you, and all the notes will be provided later, okay. Thank you, of course.